This is That Exciting Dude, and you know the drill. That's right, this is That Exciting Dude. You know how this works. That's the intro, and you are listening to Stories, Lies, and Shenanigans. But as you know, we always start with the intro. So, again, welcome to Stories, Lies, and Shenanigans. I am your captain speaking, That Exciting Dude, or as some people call me, Ted. You know the drill. Hit the follow button, whistle, monkey, wrench, whatever it is for you to hear more of this voice. In order to hear this voice, you are either listening on one of these platforms. I am on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Deezer, Castbox, Podchaser, Spreaker, and finally Apple. That took forever to get to the core of an apple. Yes, I'm finally on iTunes. Alright, before we get started, I need to lastly give some thanks to a couple of these background musics. The first one is by Brock Hewitt, Stories and Sound, and that's called Ages Ago. The next one is by a Heartsman, and the sound bit is called Paradise Island. Then lastly, it's by Tropicana, and the sound bit is called Sound Roll. And these are all from Uppbeat.com. UPPBEAT.com. Make your free account, get some free background music that's copyright free, and have a good time with whatever you want to do with it. Alright, we have a very exciting podcast, because I was gonna totally do this other topic, and then at the last minute I said, no, I'm not ready, I didn't do enough work, so now I need to figure out something else to do. So while I was figuring out something to do for the last 3 hours, my eyelids decided to take a backyard step into my head. So I totally fell asleep. I got a good portion of this done, but we're going to make the best of this. We're going to get this rolling, and That Exciting Dude, he likes to roll on the fly. Now, one thing that I do want to mention before I really get dug into the first topic, which is the sprinkle of sports, is you can catch That Exciting Dude, that's me, here, obviously, where you're listening to it, Stories, Lies, and Shenanigans. You can catch me on Twitch, where I live stream. Right now I'm in a very, it's a game called DayZ, and I'm in a very DayZ world action right now. And basically it's a survival game, and you encounter zombies, and in this particular map, hardcore colored bears, and yeah. And so that's on Twitch. I keep saying I'm going to upload to YouTube, but right now the only thing that's happening on YouTube is this podcast gets updated to YouTube. So if you want a place to give some feedback, you are definitely welcome to search for That Exciting Dude. You're going to find a picture of a dude with a pink hat holding a controller, and that is Mawa, aka me. And you can find this episode and you can leave a message, because I am going to ask you something through this podcast. I might start out with it. I might end with it. I might take a little break and say, okay, here's some food for thought. That doesn't mean I have food for thinking. It just means I'm going to give you a message to think about. But, I believe I'm missing one more spot. Man, where's the other social medias? Oh yeah, TikTok. You can get me on That Exciting Dude on TikTok. With TikTok, I go in my moods. I like pump out, boom, 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 boom. And then I go in these like hibernation modes. And then I'll come back out and I'll post 3, 4, 5 and like boom, boom, boom. So right now I'm in hibernation mode. It's actually been a good minute, so I'm about ready to come out and post some more stuff on TikTok. So you can always follow me there as well. Alright. Like I've always said, we need to get the sprinkle of sports done, so we're at the 6 minute and 15 second mark by the time I get done saying this. So if you don't want sports, skip ahead 3/4 minutes. Alright, first we're going to start in the NFL. On Gobble Gobble Day, aka Thanksgiving, we had my beloved Lions playing the Green Bay Packers, only to disappoint again. They lost 29-22. Then we're going to skip ahead to the normal Sunday games. There wasn't too many games to pick from here. A lot of them were, there's about one super, whoa, they won. And that was on Sunday. The Denver Broncos beat the Cleveland Browns, 29-12. Now, the Browns have been labeled to have the number one defense, so that's why this is like a big thing. Because if they have the number one defense, well, they're losing to one of used to be the worst teams in the league. Alright, then lastly for the Sunday games, it was an evening game where the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Buffalo Bills in overtime, 37-34. I didn't watch all of that game, but I definitely watched about 80%, and let me tell you, that was a very exhilarating game to watch. And the rain was coming down like crazy. Gotta commend it to them for doing all that in the rain. And then probably the last one for the NFL was the Monday Night Football game, aka last night. And that was between the Bears and the Vikings. And the Bears finished in an old school Lions fashion. They beat the Vikings. Well, not exactly Lions old fashion, because the Lions would lose. But they did the good old 4 field goals for 12 points to beat the Vikings 12-10. Let me tell you, to be a Viking, it's got to be very disappointing. But I can't talk right now because right now the Lions have lost the last 2. They've lost 2 that they should have won. Alright, in college last week, Saturday, we had a very, very exciting, a big rival in the state of Michigan, which is Michigan versus Ohio State, between 2 states, Michigan and Ohio. And Michigan beat Ohio State 30-24. That was a very exciting game. If you didn't watch it, guess what? It was exciting. Alright, lastly, my Notre Dame beat Stanford 56-23 out on the west coast of the United States in an exhilarating game that, well, the Irish kicked butt. Alright, moving on to the NHL. My Red Wings, they got some W's in the past week, which is very good. Boston, they beat the, what night did they beat Boston? I think that was last week, Friday. And I think when I recorded Thanksgiving podcast, so a week ago today, I believe they played the Devils and they won. All I know is the last 3 They won. A lot of W's. So that's a very positive note. Then let's see, we're going to end it with the NBA, and the Pistons still suck. Alright, that is enough with the sports. So hopefully if you fast forward, you didn't catch any of the sports, and if you did, guess what? You just got some sports action. That's all it is. Alright, like I said, today it's a very interesting podcast because I'm not gonna lie, I quickly put this together in a very quick fashion, so we're gonna see how we do. You know the drill. Drink. Yeah, that's right. If you haven't figured it out, when I say drink, that means I'm going to be taking a sip of, in my case, it's water. Once again, as usual, the good old H2O hitting the system. So, as I periodically get through the podcast, I will stop and I'll say drink. Sometimes I'll say drink after the fact, or I'll be like, and is code for drink. But, yeah. So, now that we have wetted the whistle of the mouth of that exciting dude, and the stories, lies, and shenanigans, let's get started. I was about to say with the first story, but I really don't have a second story at all. It's, yeah, I really don't have anything secondary. Alright, so this is what we're going to do right now. I'm going to tell you this little tidbit here in about 17 seconds when the background music really stops so that you can really listen to the message. Alright, this is for the music lovers out there. This is for the music lovers out there. Listen to me. If you love music, and you love all types of music, you will get this. Alright, ready for the message? What if Jesse's girl is really Stacy's mom, whose real name is Jenny? Time to give Jenny a call at 867-5309 and ask if she's the Uptown Girl as well. I think that's kind of clever what I did. It's only clever if you get it and if you know what I just said. So I'm going to repeat it again. What if Jesse's girl is really Stacy's mom, whose real name is Jenny? Time to give Jenny a call at 867-5309 and ask if she's the Uptown Girl as well. So, if you know where I'm going with that, cool. If you don't know where I'm going with that, this is the time that you can ask in the, let me get some background music going here now. I think we just played this one, but we're going to keep it going anyway. So this is the time where you can ask over at YouTube. You can leave a message, and if you think you know the answer to that, or you want to, or if there's something you want to say, we're going to use YouTube comments for this podcast when it gets released. So yeah, comment on that. You can comment on the whole that action. Oh, look at that! My friend is video chatting me. But little does she know that I'm doing the podcast. So we're just going to let that fly right by. Okay, on to the topic of today's podcast, which I don't know if we're going to have a very big podcast today. I've been hinted at, I've been bluntly said to that, with the very interesting talking that I've been doing, I've been trying to keep these at about 30 minutes, but I've been asked by some individuals, that I guess some of you just want more. I can't help it that you want more. So we're going to see what more we can bring. Definitely was not ready for today. Well, I was, but not really, if that makes sense. Okay, that doesn't make sense, but it's all I have to go on. Alright, so I read an article today that it really intrigued me. It was very interesting. And what it is it's basically the story of super glue and how it became. Now, I just realized that I have no idea how to pronounce a particular word in my notes. So this is going to be a very awesome podcast or story part, for better conversation. Okay, so basically, this article talked about super glue, and believe it or not, super glue was invented in World War II. I was kind of like, okay, cool, interesting. I was like, okay, this article, you got my attention. Let's pop into the article. All right, so I popped into the article, and it basically talked about this company, Eastman Kodak Company. I don't know if that's related to the company Kodak, but in 1942, they had an inventor in their R&D department, Dr. Harry Wesley Cover, who accidentally made the compound of superglue. And really, what Dr. Harry Wesley Cover was trying to really make was a clear plastic gun sight for Allied soldiers for the war, or during the war. So I think it's kind of funny how some inventions are made or stumbled upon or invented. Like I said, it caught my eye, so I read even more. So like I said, he was trying to make a sight for whatever weapon that the Allies use, or maybe it was for all guns. Basically a gun sight that was clear. I don't see the whole concept of why you're wanting a gun sight that's clear, but that's what they were working on. Drink. So, not able to accomplish getting the gun sight made, he abandoned it, not wanting to get stuck, literally. And the compound that he made, now, I know I'm going to butcher this. I didn't even Google it to try to see how it sounds. So, bear with me. We are going to try my best to say this. It is called cyanquilic, cyanquilic. I know I'm not saying that correct. It is CYANOQERYLATE, or late. I mean, not lake. So yeah, he made this compound, and it's basically super glue. So then in this company, so the Eastman Kodak Company, in 1956, they finally patented for super glue, and the title, or what you looked for in the store, was catalyzed, that word that I can't pronounce, adhesive composing super glue. I'm like, that's a long title for something that you're trying. I mean, imagine making packaging for that. It's like you need to put it on a book, then you got this little tube of the super glue at the bottom. I mean, it's like, come on. All right. I mean, all right. So then after a while, they decided to then change the name, and they called it Eastman 910. Okay. Super glue then there for a minute was called Eastman 910. Because when I think of Eastman 910, I sure think of super glue, not drink. You know, it just seems that it's more of a sticky situation going on here. Get it? Sticky situation. So then, it didn't specify when, but all the article said was then later they finally changed the name to what we know today as superglue. You know what the title is? Superglue. Obviously, there's many companies out there that have their glues or whatever, you know, like Gorilla and was it Sterilite, I believe, is another one or something like that. But in the end, it's boom. They all have their super glues. Okay, so now we're going to jump back to the World War II side of things. And so he still used the super glue compound in a positive way for the war, because back in World War II, a lot of companies, they wanted to produce things that helped the soldiers in war. It was like the thing to do. It was like everyone wanted to convert whatever their business was to making something for the war. It kept people at work, kept jobs in place, kept the company in place. You know, so I mean, it made sense. So anyhow, so what they did was super glue was used by the medics in the field to stop bleeding. And basically what they did was they covered the wound. It was like a spray that they had of this super glue, and it covered the wound and stopped the bleeding enough for them to finally get to the hospital, or, you know, or wherever, somewhere sufficient for the doctor, well, that'd be the hospital, to work on them, and they didn't bleed out, because a lot of people were bleeding out and dying. So this whole super glue was a lifesaver, literally. And then the article ended with saying that in 1998, now this was an interesting, because I do remember, I mean, and you can get it still today, but in 1998 they redid the formula. It says that they redesigned super glue to finally making a liquid Band-Aid. And I remember using a liquid Band-Aid back in the day. Like I said, you can still get the stuff, I think, today. I'm pretty sure you can. I don't know, can you? You know, we're going to quickly Google this. Can you still get liquid Band-Aids? Liquid Band-Aid. Alright, let's, I totally put my keyboard up. Liquid bandage. Here we go. Liquid bandage. Okay, yeah, it's called New Skin Equate Liquid Bandage Rapid Seal Wound Gel. Liquid bandage, crack care. What the heck? No. So yeah, I mean, thanks to this invention and a redesign from, I think scientists would be far off, but I guess people that know what they're, okay, scientists, R&D people. In 1998, it converted to probably being safely used on the body, because I bet you back in the day, he probably, whatever chemicals he used, probably weren't the greatest for the skin. But there comes a point where it's like, do you want to live, or do you want to have cancer later on in life? And I'm sure a lot of people were like, just spare the stuff and get me to the hospital. You know, when they're in a trench or out on the battlefield of the east villages of France, or heading into Germany or in Poland or wherever. You get the idea. You get what I'm getting at. All right, drink. Good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah, like I said, I thought it was a very interesting article. I was intrigued by it. It wasn't a very big article, considering how long I talked about it, and how big the article was. I mean, I definitely flabbergasted. Definitely flapped the jaws long enough for what it was. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a second story, but I do have to talk about a sticky situation that did happen to me once. And here's a sticky situation. And what's new, then we need to go back to the Navy days. Because I did a lot of crazy stuff when I was in the Navy. And how I didn't end up on restriction, that's beyond me. So anyhow, this time that I'm going to bring you back to was, we're docked in Perth, Australia. And this is the second time I was in Perth. So this is when we were docked for I don't know if it was before our 3-week stint that we were in Perth, or if it was over Christmas when we were there. Not the point. Of the total of the 4 weeks that I was in Perth, Australia, it was one of those times. I can't pinpoint it which one. But here's the sticky situation. So, depending on your rank, first off, depending on how you got off the ship. You waited in a long line. I was in an aircraft carrier, so you waited in a long line, depending on your rank. Obviously, I was in E3, which when you start at E1, then 2, then 3, you can get the point that, definitely was kind of last off the ship. Not like dead last, but definitely wasn't first. That's for sure. But what went along with that is you also had to be back on the ship at a certain time too. Hence why rank matters, and why rank is rank in the military. It's to show your progress in the military, what you've accomplished, what you've done, and then with that you get the perks of being out longer in Liberty. So E3s in this particular setting needed to be back by midnight. Now we always get fair, so to kind of pause there, The aircraft carriers are nuclear, and there's a lot of places that you don't pull into a port because the aircraft carrier doesn't. A lot of places can't take in a huge aircraft carrier, so we would anchor offshore. We get ferried in to a particular location, dock, and boom, then we'd all go ashore. But the ferry boats were, it depended where we were. Like, most of it was, oh man, if I had to really guess, I don't know, 50 people, 70 people. And some of them were horrible. Like, there was only like 30 people. It depended on the boats too, because they had several boats. Well, sometimes it took a minute to get all of the boats in action. But long story short, it took time to get to finally on Liberty and having fun out in town wherever we pulled in. So it was a group of us. I don't remember exactly how many of us. All I know is we pulled into, like I said, Perth. Really, it was Fremantle that we got. And all I remember is you get off at the docks, and we went up and over this bridge that went over the train tracks, and you go back down. And then there was a bar across the street, or you turn right and you go towards the train station, which is what we did, because we wanted to take the metro or the train, what do you want to call it, to Perth. And I remember it was fairly cheap. But all I remember is the time that my group wanted to get back on the train. It was like an 11:15 departure from Perth, or 11:20. And I kept telling them, like, this isn't gonna work because it takes like a half hour to get back. Like, the train took like a half hour to get to Perth. And I was like, we need to leave earlier. But like an idiot, and keeping with the whole buddy system that the military had, I was like, okay. So we are all drunk, and we get on the train at Perth. We get back to Fremantle, and I don't know the exact time that we had left to get to this bridge part where pretty sure it was an MA, a Master at Arms, basically, aka a police, Navy police, for just lack of a better term. And he was, checking your badge, to make sure that you were in the Navy and you were allowed to be at this port. And all I know is we had a run about a good, if I had to guess, it was about a mile. Maybe it was a little less than a mile. All I know is when you've drunk a lot, it was way too long. And we had like less than 5 minutes that we had to make it back to this point. All I remember is that we were huffing and puffing. I just made it up this little ramp to start getting to the higher part to walk over this bridge. And like, seriously, like, I showed the officer my badge, and all of a sudden he goes, all right, it's midnight, here's the cutoff line. I have never been so like, oh my god, did that really just happen? I mean, I've had so many close calls, like I said. I don't know how I didn't get on restriction when I was in the military. I mean, it did lots of things. We'll leave it like that. But yeah, in Perth. Huh. Drink. Had a quick cough there. Alright, we need to get another background music going. But yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. Like I said, I've never had to run so hard and fast in my life. And I mean, imagine, I don't know, 6, 10 beers down, and you gotta run your tail off. All I know is I know I was last in the group. I know that for a factoid. I want to say there was about 4 or 5 of us. But, I just remember like I said, I was so relieved when we kept like looking at our. I think we all had watches. Watches were like a big thing, Fossil watches, and I just remember getting past them, and then he said, "All right, it's midnight." I was like so like. And I remember just looking at the group, and I was like, "You fuckers." But like I said, I was so relieved to make it across. And then there was always the fun of waiting about another 3 hours before we finally got to the ship. But good times. If you don't take risks, you don't get rewards, or have a good story like that to tell. That's all I gotta say about that. Alright, so we're gonna revisit the message from earlier. So we're gonna pump this down just a little bit. Alright, so I put the background even more down. You probably can't even hear it. I have no idea. So earlier, I said a message. It's just a fun little thing that I thought of. If you're into music, you get it. Like you're like really into music, you get it. And I'm not saying just because if you're really into music and you don't get it, that's like, oh, you're an idiot. That's not what I'm implying. I'm just gonna, if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, that's why I'm saying, leave a message, and I will give you the songs to listen to, so that you can get the message. So anyhow, the message that I'm sharing is, and I repeated this earlier, but we're going to repeat it one more time. What if Jesse's girl is really Stacy's mom, whose real name is Jenny? Time to give Jenny a call at 867-5309 and ask if she's the Uptown Girl as well. As I mentioned before, my name is That Exciting Dude. You'll see the stories, lies, and shenanigans. You can leave a message at YouTube at That Exciting Dude. Just search for the icon that has a pink cowboy holding a controller. I don't know how well the icon really shows up, because some of them like really shrink it, some like keep it what the size it is. But yeah, That Exciting Dude. I'm also on Twitch. I stream on Twitch. I've been trying to get into this mode that anytime I'm playing a game, I'm just going to stream. If I'm playing something, I'm going to stream. So, the best way that you can do is on Twitch is first follow. That'd be awesome. I think it's subscribe. And I think there's a bell button so that you know when I go live. That's about the best thing that I can say for that. And then, like I said, I'm on YouTube, That Exciting Dude. And then I'm also on TikTok. Currently, I'm in hibernation mode, as in I'm not really making anything. I tend to like hibernate, and then I'll come out and do like 3, 4, 5 videos, and then I go back into hibernation. Yeah, I have my moments. Okay? We all have moments. As I'm not ready, drink. Alright. Well, didn't quite make it as long as I wanted to. But you know what? We got a little bit longer this time. So yeah, I think we're just gonna end right here. I think we're at a good end spot. A couple good stories. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is That Exciting Dude, and you just listen to stories, lies, and shenanigans. And you know the drill, leaving. This is That Exciting Dude, and you just listened to Stories, Lies, and Shenanigans, episode number 15?